what can citizens do? So let me address that, because I get that question probably more than anything. I think a lot of people are concerned right now, and I think there's a lot of reason to have concern. One, when you switch from one administration to another, there's always going to be changes, right? Because different people are coming in to run agencies, etc. When you change from one administration to another and one party to another, there's even more changes that you are going to have to deal with and address. And when Donald Trump has come in, we've had to deal with some other things that I'm not used to. So for example, you and I both get information at the same time because we get our tweets at the same time. So sometimes that's how I'm getting information, unfortunately. So it's a lot of change and a lot of upheaval, and I think people are really concerned that things they care about, like the Affordable Care Act, or environmental protections, or different issues could be in jeopardy. So here's what I tell people. Let me give you two kind of general areas. One, you reach out and call us. Tammy Baldwin has a representative here today, right there in back. Let's thank Senator Baldwin for having a set of ears here. And one of the things is you could reach out to your senators and your representatives. So Tammy Baldwin and Ron Johnson and our office, call, send us emails. As much as I would say write letters, the problem is if you send a letter to Washington, I get it 3 weeks later because it has to be screened for ricin and stuff. So if you've got something fast, that's not probably your best way, but you can send the same content in an email. So, still that personal story is really important. Reaching out to us on the phone, we'll tell you what's going on. But do that. It's really important that you're as engaged as humanly possible, because it really does allow us to have that communication, know what you're thinking. My job is to take what I hear from South Central Wisconsin and bring it to Washington, and then explain what's happening in Washington back here at home. So really, I need to have that input. Even if you think I agree with you on an issue, reach out to us. If I don't agree with you, reach out to me. We need to hear from you folks. So one, be really active. And we've had successes, a bunch of them, since just this session alone. The very first day of Congress, the night before I was sworn in for the 115th Congress, the Republican Conference, which is the caucus, the Republican caucus in Congress, met and was going to gut the ethics laws as they affect members of Congress. And they voted for that, and they were going to do it as a rule the next day because we passed the rules. Word got out, you all called all of us, and they didn't introduce the rule change. We kept ethics for Congress. It may sound like something pretty easy, but it's hard sometimes in Congress to have people keep things like that. That we did because you all reached out. There was a bill to sell 2.5 million acres of public land, and people reached out, didn't like it. The author pulled it back. The Secretary of Labor nominee was someone who was one of the bigger violator of labor law in the country for his business, and was going to be in charge of labor law violations. And he also was saying how he preferred robots to people because robots don't get sick and they don't need vacations. And you all pushed back, and he didn't get confirmed as the nominee. And I'll tell you, the new person they put in is someone that's going to be significantly different in policy than that last person. So we're having successes by people reaching out and calling out, so that's the most important thing. The second thing I'd say is find those local and national groups that are working on the issues that you think are most in jeopardy, that you care about the most. Volunteer your time, support them, double down with them with what you do, because they can magnify your voice. You can call me on something, but if you've got a group that's dealing with every other member in the country, and there's ways to have you work to help get people in another part of the country where maybe that member of Congress doesn't agree with what you believe in, those groups are doing that work, and they can really magnify your voice. So if you volunteer with those groups, that's going to go really far. And if that group happens to have a legal arm, all the better, because one of the things that's going to happen are these legal challenges are going to be the way we slow things down and stop things if you think some of the things you care about are a concern. So that's my advice on how to reach out and how to make sure you have that effect that you really want to. So hopefully that's helpful.